Okay, great. So for those of you in the room who are new, my name is Amari Hill. I am one of your PAC advisors this year. I am a senior who is majoring in psychology, and I'll give everybody else a chance to introduce themselves as well.
My name is Jay Sean. All right, sorry about that. My name is Jay Sean. I use he, him pronouns. I am a current junior, and I am planning on getting a double major in business administration and communication, and I'm also a PAC advisor.
Hello, my name is Derek. I am a senior using he, him pronouns. I have been a PAC advisor for 2 years now, and I'm majoring in biomedical sciences. Yeah, that's me.
Hi, my name is Melody. I'm currently a sophomore. I'm intended to major in biomedical science as well, and my pronouns are she, her, and hers.
I'm Exita. Hey, I am going to be a sophomore this year. I use she, her, and hers pronouns, and I'm intended to double major in law and policy and communications with the main focus of global engagements.
Hi, my name is Tina Nguyen, and my pronouns are she and hers. My intended major is computer science.
Hello, my name is Jake. I am excuse me. I'm a Purple Pack advisor. I am a current sophomore, a psych major, and I go by he, his, him pronouns.
Hi, everyone.
Oh, hi.
Oh, Linda, go for it.
Okay, I'm Lindell, but you can just call me Lynn. Right now, I'm a pre-major hoping to do computer science. I use they, them pronouns, and it's nice to meet you all.
Hi, everyone. My name is Monica Del Fiero. I use her pronoun. I had the honor of being the supervisor to the PAC advisors. I'm a class of 2014 Tacoma alum, and I majored in psychology.
Monica, I didn't hear what you were an alum of. Which department?
Psychology.
Oh, psychology. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I apologize. It kicked me out of the chat. So I would like to go ahead and introduce our very special guest today. He likes to refer to himself as having the best job on campus, but I actually think us students have some of the best jobs on campus because we get to work under the instruction of the great staff and faculty that we have. So without further ado, Chancellor Pagano, go right ahead.
Well, thank you very much, Amari. I appreciate you inviting me today. I would always take the opportunity to visit with students, especially students who work so hard on behalf of other students. I've learned about what the PAC advisors are about over the years, and I love the idea. I have my own little PAC here, member of the PAC. So thank you for all allowing me here today. I don't know exactly what all you want me to talk about, but I heard all of you give your pronouns. I also go by he, his, and him. One of the things that we've started doing many times on campus when we start meetings, we used to do it with like convo and big meetings, but we're starting to do it more often now, is acknowledging the land that we're on, giving a land acknowledgement. So as you all know, this is the, and I don't know where you are now, but let's pretend you're on the Tacoma campus. So if you were on the Tacoma campus, this is the land of the Coast Salish people, and in particular the Puyallup tribe. This is their traditional lands, and they had a village right where our campus is located. So I like for students to know that and be respectful of that as they spend time on campus. So Amari asked me to maybe give a little bit of my background, and I don't want to assume that you students want to know about my background, but I'm happy to give you a little bit and would prefer that I, after just doing a little bit, would have a conversation with you about what's going on, what makes it difficult to be a PAC advisor in this situation we find ourselves in right now. What could I do to facilitate that? We really want this to be a good experience for our students, and for many it is, but for a lot who are the first time they're going to come to campus, and several of you mentioned it, we also come to campus not just to learn things, but also because of the collegiality, the friendship. We see the folks that are important to us and close to us, and we are kind of in this together when we're on campus. Study together, talk to each other about the woes in our lives or the good things in life. So is that okay, Amari, if I just maybe say a little bit about myself and then open it up for conversation? Am I breaking up? No? Okay.
Yeah, you're okay now.
Okay. Well, I've been the chancellor for 5 years now, and it was 5 years in March. I've had a long career in higher education. I became an assistant professor when I was 27 years old. That was pretty young. When I got in class, a lot of the students were my age, but I got started early and became a professor. I'd already been an engineer for 2 years, but I went right into this position and have never looked back. And I'm not going to tell you how old I am now, but it's way more than 27. You can guess, but it's way more than 27. But I've worked at 4 different universities. My first university was a place called Southern Illinois University in the very bottom of Illinois. Have you ever thought of Illinois? It looks like an arrowhead. It kind of points down at the bottom. And that's because the Mississippi and the Ohio rivers come down, and that's the Delta, and then they go on down to New Orleans. So Southern Illinois University was right above that Delta of those 2 mighty rivers in the center of our country. So I grew up right around there, lived there most of my life, went to college there, and stayed and got a graduate degree. I did work in Chicago, and I assume many of you have been through Chicago or to Chicago. It's a wonderful city. But I went to that university. I went back to the university where I got my degrees, and my degrees are in thermal and environmental engineering, which is a cross between like mechanical engineering with some environmental science laid on top of it. And then my master's degree is in that same field. And then my doctorate is in engineering science, which is more of it's not a practical engineering degree, it's more of a science-based engineering PhD. So, and the reason I picked those 3 is because they had those at Southern Illinois University, and I was a little bit place-bound at that time in my life. So anyway, I worked there for 9 years, was a faculty member teaching classes in some exciting things such as thermodynamics. Anybody ever had a class in thermodynamics? No. Oh, there we go. Derek has. Yep. I would imagine biomedical sciences, you need to learn some thermo. So I taught that. I taught several other classes, statics, strength of materials, mostly engineering classes. But I got responsibility to be the program director my second year there. So I was a young man, 28 years old, and was responsible to be the director of the program, which was a lot of responsibility, not a lot of authority, which is, there's a difference between that, but a lot of responsibility for who teaches what classes, curricula changes and all that. So it made me want to be in administration of a university so I could have some kind of authority too, to accent the things that were good and to maybe change the things that weren't so good. So I began trying to get into administration, and I got the opportunity to go to Purdue University after 9 years at Carbondale, and that's where I spent a lot of my career. I was at Purdue for 19 years, and mostly in administration, doing some teaching, but I was head of a large department, a mechanical engineering technology department. We had 35 faculty and 900 students in one department. And then I became a dean, an associate dean, associate vice provost. I moved up several times, but my kids, one by one, left Indiana. Purdue is in Indiana, by the way. So I had spent 30 years in Illinois and 20 years in Indiana, and I had stayed there primarily because that's where my kids grew up. But then there goes my son to Arizona. There goes my daughter to school in Colorado. And there's Mark sitting in West Lafayette, Indiana. Nothing wrong with West Lafayette, Indiana. Has anybody been to Indiana? Nobody's been to Indiana? Okay. Well, it's flat. It's in the middle of the country. It's much like Illinois, but we would come here for vacations. I brought my kids all over the country. We went to Colorado, we went to Canada, we went to Montana, we went to Washington, Oregon, all the time coming out here. So when my kids started leaving, I said, I am going to try to spend the rest of my career out there. So that's what got me going towards the West. I was the provost at Montana State University Billings for 4 years. Provost is the chief academic officer. That's Dr. Jill Purdy on our campus. Maybe some of you have met Dr. Purdy. She's a Milgard faculty member. And I did that 4 years when I learned about this position at Tacoma. My wife and I stopped by the campus to see what it was all about, and we both fell in love with the campus. She went into the Starbucks there and got a Starbucks, and I took her picture by the sign, and the rest is history, so to speak. We worked really hard and got the job, and I've been here for 5 years. So we love it here. We want to stay here, I believe, the rest of our lives. It's going to take that long to see all of the beautiful state of Washington and the surrounding areas. I love our students. Our students are so serious about their education. Of course, they like to have fun. Of course, they identify with the Huskies and all the things students do, but our students are serious. They want to impact the world for the good. So that's very rewarding to see that, see the passion that students have, and to work on this together. So that's why I stick with it. So Amari, is that kind of enough for me to stop there and have a conversation?
Yeah, I was gonna say if there was anything else you wanted to talk about as far as the university goes, maybe like some highlights, maybe some of your favorite experiences while you've been at UW.
Okay. Well, I'll do a little bit more of that. While I've been here, obviously, when you get a job such as Chancellor, they are pretty particular in how they select that person. And there was an announcement that said what the job was about, what they would like that person who they hired to do. So I read that very carefully, and I felt I had the qualifications and the experiences to do those things. So I addressed how I would do them in my interview. They actually interviewed me for 3 days. I was utterly exhausted after 3 days of interviewing with passionate students and faculty and staff. But right away, one of the first things I said I would do is I would work on a vision for the next 25 years. When I came in 2015, it was the 25th anniversary of UWT. Now we're trying to celebrate our 30th, but it's kind of hard because we can't get together. But anyway, it was our 25th anniversary. So we did a visioning exercise to see what we wanted to do when we grow up. What do we want to be when we're 50 years old for this community? And we interviewed, focus group, talked to over 1,100 different people to gather input and put all of that into one set of circumstances that describe the vision that we have for our campus moving forward. And it's built around 6 what we called impact goals. Students We want to empower every student to be able to achieve their dream. So that's pretty wide. Any of you, each of you talked a little bit, you didn't say dream, but you talked a little bit about what your aspirations are. We want at our campus to be able to empower each of you to do that, not take you there. That's your job. We empower you to get there. So that was our first and foremost impact goal. And then we have one about scholarship. We want our faculty to be able to aspire and do what they like doing best. And you have the experience with these faculty members in all different areas that you talked about. They're going after their passions too. So they're still being students. They're doing research. They're learning more so they can give you the state of the art, the most recent information. So that was the second one. And we wanted to focus that scholarship on publicly engaged. So scholarship that was relative to this time and place. You know, of course we can work on issues that go across the world, but we want to kind of prioritize on issues that affect the South Sound and the 2015 timeframe, the 2020 now. And because we're such an international city and a port city, kind of globally connected, most of the things we work on are also issues around the world. So poverty, immigration, all the things that our people are passionate about are things that affect the whole world. So that was our second impact goal. Our third impact goal was communities. And essentially that was built around, we want to do all this with our community, in partnership with our community. The fourth impact goal was growth. The community brought this campus here in 1990 and expect it to grow and provide all of the career paths that our students in the South Puget Sound deserve and need to be successful, and we're not there yet. We have a pretty good portfolio now, but if you look at our portfolio and compare it to WSU or to UW Seattle, there's a lot larger spectrum. So little by little, we're adding degrees. Since I've been here, we've added 12 new degrees. Most recently, two Board of Regents meetings ago, we approved finally the mechanical engineering and the PhD in computer science. Who was it that's in computer science? Was that? Yeah. So Tina, if you want to stay here for 10 years and get a master's and a PhD, it's there now. So there you go. So that was the fourth one. And then another impact goal was culture. We want to create a campus environment where we're respectful to each other and that everybody can do their best work or their best study. And we haven't achieved that now. We have a lot of work to do. We work on that every day. And then growth, culture, equity. Another impact goal, which really threads through our other ones, is equity. We want everyone to be able to succeed at UW Tacoma. We don't want to exclude anybody. And as you know, I'm sure your experiences have been mixed. We haven't gotten there yet. We just finished a climate survey for our campus. And one of the things we heard from our student population, which answered the survey in a pretty good percentage, was the sense of belonging is not where it should be. We advertise this campus where we want you to come and we want you to be successful, and we put up roadblocks. You know, during this, we learned that something like 80 different offices at the UW can put a hold on a student's registration. That like floored us. We had no idea that many offices have the authority to put a hold on your registration. How many are surprised by that? Anybody surprised by that? Yeah, that seems like an awful big number. So we're working now to, there are some things we need to be able to put a hold on, you know. If you walk out with all the equipment in the biomedical sciences lab, we need to put a hold on your registration until we find you and have you put it back, you know. So there are legitimate reasons to put a hold on people's registration. But anyway, so that's kind of an overview, and it's really fulfilling to me to go through this process where we got 1,100 people involved and came up with a vision and a set of plan based on these 6 goals. which everybody agreed to, and we just didn't decide what they were and then go with it. We collated all that information, put it into writing, sent it out to everybody and said, is this what you said? And after time, and everybody said yes, then that became our plan. And to see us little by little accomplish that is very fulfilling to me. I'm just not the most patient person in the world. I would like to do things quicker, but good things take a longer time to do if you do them well. And that's something I learned about the UW is they don't do anything unless they do it very well. That's what they strive for. So those are some of the things that I'm really pleased with. I'm pleased with our convocation. I love that convocation. And every year when we have commencement is so much fun to me. To hear the stories, to see students that I know bring 15 people into the Tacoma Dome whose smiles are this big because their student, their nephew, their mother, their brother, their sister, their boyfriend, girlfriend, whoever partner is graduating with the UW degree. That's probably my favorite day by far of the year. And I actually was pleased with this year. I know it's not what we wanted it to be, but I was pleasantly surprised by how festive the commencement was. Did anybody do the online commencement this year?
I was there for about 10 minutes, just because I had one person in particular I was going to see, but it was actually, well, not see, I guess, but yeah, it was nice. Everybody's speeches were, I think, well tailored to the virtual atmosphere, so it was really nice.
Yeah, that's what I mean by UW doesn't do anything unless they do it well. I had my doubts, but it was good. I hope we don't change and forever we do it that way. I kind of like the old-fashioned approach where you go there in person. So what all do you want to talk about? We have time here. We've used about only half the time. What kind of things would you like to know? What can I do as your chancellor to help you in your job as a PAC advisor or your job as a student? What could we do together to make our campus better for the other students that we're trying to recruit or that we have recruited and will be there?
So one thing that I kind of wanted you to discuss, because I thought it was really cool, was some of the future buildings that are supposed to be happening within UW. I know you and I had a conversation about that a little while back, and I thought that might be cool to kind of share with the PAC advisors.
Okay. Let me do this. I just closed a file, but I think I can get it real quickly. Oh no, I know where it is. This will just take me maybe 1 minute, folks. So hopefully you can hang on.
You're totally fine.
I deleted it yesterday because I didn't think I would need it, but it's got a slide in it that would really facilitate me telling you what we got going. But I don't want you just sitting here waiting for me either. So let me see. And I haven't cleaned out my trash bin in a long time, so it's probably pretty full.
I believe your trash bin has a search feature. So like if you know the name of the document, you might be able to type that in and find it.
Well, the only word I can remember in the title is Tacoma, and everything just about here has that word in it. Just 1 more minute and see if I can find it.
Now that we are like on a pause though, I'd like to say just how well spoken you are.
Well, I'm not going to waste any more of your time, but let me think for 1 second. Is there somewhere else I would have that? Maybe in this PowerPoint file. Nope, it's not there. Okay, I'm disappointed. I can't find that, but I don't want you waiting. But essentially, what Amari is talking about is since I have been on campus, we have done several things. First of all, my first week here, I came March 2016. I went down to Olympia because the legislature was in session and they were considering whether or not they were going to fund a $16 million project to do Tacoma paper and stationery building. So I didn't know anybody, didn't even know essentially where I was, but I talked to everybody I could. I talked to the legislators from our district and told them how important this building was to us, and we got that funding. We had been putting money in the bank. We paid 11 million and they gave us 16. So we paid $27 million to completely renovate the Tacoma paper and stationery building. And several of you are in that building because the biomedical sciences labs occupy the top 2 floors. So that was the first major thing we did. And then we also took some savings. Thank you, Tina. So we took some savings account money and remodeled McDonald Smith, which you may or may not go to that often. It's mostly faculty offices, but we were growing by leaps and bounds as a campus and didn't have any more offices to put our faculty in. So we did that, and that kind of allowed us to do a couple of the new programs that were taking a lot of labs, the biomedical sciences and electrical engineering, and also to hire more faculty and put them in those offices. But then we began to put our sights on the next academic building. So we put in a request for a 50,000 square foot building, and to compare it, the Tacoma paper and stationery is about 30,000 square feet. So think what, 1.5 times? Yeah, a little more than 1.5 times the size of Tacoma paper and stationery is going to be a new building. And we thought we were going to put it next to Pinkerton. And then when we did an analysis over the fall of how we should grow our campus up the hill going forward, we learned that next to the Pinkerton is so close to the Y in Court 17, that should be reserved for further expansion of like dining facilities, our next residence hall, and all that. And really, if we're going to put more academic buildings, we should think about extending the lines that have already gotten started. So if you think about Dugan, Tacoma Paper and Stationery, Carwine Auditorium, and then you have the stairway, and then you go to the powerhouse and Snoqualmie, and then it's a parking lot. They suggested we continue that and fill up that parking lot with the building, and then the same thing up above after the science building and the Tioga Library, then there's another parking lot and then some grassy space. Put your next building somewhere there. Fill those up with buildings. So we've changed our thinking, and you may or may not like this idea, but this new building is going to be in Craigle Lot, and we're in the early process of designing it right now, and we may build it so that the parking lot can stay there and you would come in and go under the first floor of the building. We have an architect that's helping with that. But that new building, it's called Milgard Hall because Mr. Milgard, the same person that gave us $20 million to name it the Milgard School of Business, gave the lead gift for this building, gave $7 million to get us started, in addition to the money that the state has provided us. So we're building a new building right there, and it's going to take most of this year to design it, but then we're going to start construction about this time next summer. And it should only take about a year because it's going to be made out of cross-laminated timber. And that building is going to be new classrooms. It's going to be expansion space, excuse me, expansion space for the Milgard School. It's going to be expansion space for the engineering school. And then when they move out of some of their existing spaces, the other units like SIS, urban studies, social work, nursing, healthcare leadership can move into the spaces they vacate. So it's a great new building for our campus, and that some of you that are sophomores may be able to go into that building, or if Tina stays all the way to get her PhD, she can go into that building, but it's gonna not open for probably about 2 more years. And now, in addition to that, one of the things that I spend a lot of my time doing is I'm advocating for a traditional residence hall on top of a dining facility. So my wish, and I believe we've convinced most of the campus, now we just have to convince the people that have the authority to release the funding, to build a dining hall that would be essentially when you come out of the doors of Tacoma Paper and Stationery up top onto Jefferson. Do you know where I'm talking about? Not down on the Prairie Line Trail, but up on Jefferson Street. When you come out like you're going to go up to the Y or something, right across there where it's kind of a gravel parking lot, that would be a student space, dining facility, more of a traditional hub, a little different than what we have up in the Y. And then on top of it would be 3 or 4 floors of traditional residence hall. So that's real exciting. And we have a little bit of traction on that. We're just trying to get a financing plan together. So let me stop and see if there's questions about that. Also, we're working with the city, and the city is hurting financially right now, but trying to do something about the crosswalk on 21st. And Vinny, your student body president, and several of his people have been very active in helping me work with the city to try to solve that issue down there. 4 students, at least, maybe 5, have been hit. Luckily, we haven't had a real serious injury or a death, but I don't want anybody getting hit in a crosswalk. Questions?
Hi, so I have a different question, but I just want to thank you for sharing those new plans and vision for the UW campus. And I hope our incoming students are excited about that as well, especially about the dining hall. And that's very considerate about like the dangers of the roads, definitely going on the hill and stuff like that. So my question is that with the new incoming students, what are some words of encouragement you would say to students who aren't familiar with online class?
Well, some encouraging words to me are what I'll go back to what I said about commencement. You know, it seems so hard when you're going to school. I remember standing in line. We used to have to do registration, you know, in person. You actually had little cards that you had to go and give to an advisor, and they would sign you up for a class. This was way before all this computerized stuff. I remember standing there in line, and if I would have thought to myself, I am going to do this for 29 more semesters. That's how many semesters it took me to get my PhD. 29 semesters I was in school. There is no way I would have ever started. And some of you may have that difficulty. When you first come to school, you go to your first quarter of 16, you know, and sometimes that's hard to think that far. But I would tell students, stick with it. You know, time is going to pass, whether you're doing this hard, important thing or not. So what's going to happen, 4 years will pass, and yeah, you'll get some experience working in a job or 2 jobs, or like Amari, maybe 3 jobs all at once. But will you have achieved your dream? And the answer is probably not. We all have big dreams. So just tell the students, the potential UWT graduates, to stick with it. Give it some time. It is difficult. It's different than high school. It's different than the 2-year college they went to. But if you can push yourself through, it gets to be very rewarding. So I think when I was young, that's something I wasn't as good at, is thinking about time is going to pass. You know, sometimes we think in terms of tomorrow or next weekend, but you know, it's going to be next year before you think about it. Just think about when we went online back March 9th. Who would have thought here we are 4 months later, you know, still in this predicament? So have them think into the future, and there are so many successful circumstances coming out or situations coming out of UW Tacoma. I don't think I've met a student, maybe one or so, that is not happy with what they've achieved in school. Now, that being said, Tina, we do surveys, and we know that some of our students are not as prepared as we probably could have helped them prepare for when they get into the workplace. And we believe some of that is because many of our students, like myself, were first generation students. I knew nothing about the corporate world. I got my first degree at Southern Illinois University, and next thing I knew, I was in an office in downtown Chicago on the 30th floor, corporate America. I didn't have a clue. Luckily, I kind of pulled up my bootstraps and I did well, but I don't think we spend enough time preparing our students for the expectations of the world around us. Now, hopefully you all can change the world around us, because we also know the world around us isn't all it's cracked up to be too. There are a lot of issues with the world around us. So part of it is being at least successful enough to get yourself in the door and to positively change that. I better stop because I've taken too long to answer one question.
Hi.
Hi, Zita.
Hi. A lot of your background is in engineering. When you were a student, what did you think you would become?
Well, that's an interesting question, because actually, you know, when I was young, I played with Tinker Toys. Do you guys know what Tinker Toys are?
Is it like the little sets that you build?
Yeah, it's little sets. They were round wooden things, and you could stick like legs in, and you could make Ferris wheels or whatever, kind of like an erector set, but you could build things. And I had Lincoln Logs. I had several sets of Lincoln Logs. So I loved to build things, but I was also good at art. I was always drawing things. You know, this, I still have something. I drew this like 40 years ago with watercolors. I don't know what you think about it, but I thought it was pretty cool. I was like 10. So I knew I had artistic capabilities, and then I was really good in math. So I figured I needed to be an architect. I didn't know. My dad only went 2 years of high school and then quit school. And my mom didn't go to college. So nobody in my family really knew about these things. But from what I read, I thought I would be an architect. So I went to Southern Illinois University and told them I wanted to be an architect. And they said, well, we don't have that. We have engineering. It's the same thing. And oh my goodness, it's not the same thing. But I was naive, didn't know. So I signed up for engineering. And then I actually hated it. Because what they did back in those days is I got put in chemistry, and I bet Derek can feel this pain a little bit, physics, calculus. I did nothing that had to do with designing something for a long time. And I have to admit, chemistry was not fun at first. You know, later when I started using it as an engineer, some of that stuff became fun. So I actually quit school. I quit school and got a job in a grocery store, and nothing against working in a grocery store, but boy, that opened my eyes. So I went back to school, paid way more attention, realized that some of those things were just building blocks for the future. And I had a better head on my shoulders with respect to homework, taking it seriously. I started working with other students more. I felt a little bit like an imposter when I first got there. Everybody else was staying in the dorms, the residence halls, and I had to go back and forth to my parents' house because we didn't have the money for me to stay in a residence hall. So I was unsure that I'd chosen the right field. But then when I got my first job as an engineer, designing things, building things was really rewarding to me. But teaching people to do that was even more rewarding. You know, so that's when I learned, when I was a graduate student and I got a chance to help a professor teach a class. The class was called Energy and the Future was the name of the class. And I thought, man, this is what I want to do. So that's when I set my sights on being a professor. I can't give a short answer to a question. I am so sorry. Other questions?
Wait, can I like make a comment? I can't believe someone told you architecture and engineering were the same thing.
I know, that was an advisor, but not an advisor like Monica. It was an advisor who didn't know. And I can see that some people that go into admissions and advising are right out of college, and they may be advising students on careers that they're not experienced with yet. It takes a while to learn all of the degree programs that we have across even a place like UWT. If I had to explain to somebody everything that a social worker does, you know, I would be in trouble, or a nurse or a biomedical scientist. So anyway, I don't fault that person. Jake, did you want to ask a question? I thought maybe you were going to ask a question there.
I did, sir. So one of the things that there's an idea I was kind of tossing around in my head, and I kind of wanted some of your thoughts on it.
Okay.
So one of the things that I thought of to maybe help with maybe student involvement and things of that nature, to help people get more involved with the school, and to maybe have more, I'm going to say the word involvement again,
Yeah.
with like different activities, events, and things like that, was like a student advisory board. No, I don't know if there is something that's already kind of like this. So like, stop me if you're like, oh, we already have this. But one of the things that I thought was to kind of get a bunch of students, at least like a group of however many students, and then invite anyone to come in and kind of sit down and talk with people and give their ideas as to things that we should do to, either have specific events or things we can do to improve life on campus, or things we could do to improve just generally being a student, and things like that. This is all pretty general shenanigans. But one of the things that I thought it'd be a good idea, just because while there isn't a lack of it, lack of involvement, I think that encouraging a lot of students to come in and kind of give their ideas in a very free-spirited kind of forum where everyone's ideas are welcome and things like that, I think that'd be a good way to get people encouraged to be at a place that respects their opinions and things of that nature. So yeah, I kind of wanted your thoughts on that.
Sure, Jake, that's an excellent idea. And yes, we try to emulate that sometimes. And I'm going to go back to the strategic plan. So during the strategic plan, we had a graduate student and an undergraduate student. However, the problem with that is we went to the ASUWT and we went to the Graduate Student Association. So the students that we received back were the students who were already involved, and nothing wrong with that. And I assume the 9 of you on the call there, I would probably get mostly students who are involved. Unfortunately, you don't represent the students who are not involved, or you wouldn't be on the call. So that happens sometimes. So it's really hard to get our student leaders to reach out, or for us to reach out and get students who wouldn't normally show up for something like being a PAC advisor. So what we did during the strategic planning process is we went to a class. After we got the plan about 90% done, we went to a class in SIAS. It was one of the communications classes in the communications, and they were working on photo voice projects. And we gave them a brief synopsis of those 6 impact goals and asked them to do a photo voice and come and talk to us through pictures they took around campus about what they thought about. And oh my goodness, we were so embarrassed because we had missed the boat in many areas, thinking we knew what was good for our students. So that really had a major impact on us late in the game. So it was emotional for a lot of people. There were a lot of tears in the room, and we made as many changes as we could. We had a lot of momentum was going on when we did that. So your idea is right on. I do put Vinny Da, who is your student body president, on my cabinet. And also my chancellor's budget advisory committee has both Vinny, the student body president, and the treasurer, the director of finance for student government. But again, those are 2 very involved students that are in the room, so to speak, when we talk about budget. And budget's very important because when we put our money essentially where our values are. So the idea of a more open or grassroots way to get student input would be very good. And I would take any suggestions you have. That I think this is my wife. Hey, babe. Yeah, that is my wife. This is my wife, Kelly, by the way.
Hello, whoever you're talking to.
These are the PAC advisors on campus. Yeah. So anyway, yes. Okay. So I'm sorry. Little distraction there. I think we are going to do some student-focused town halls. We did one last fall. I don't know how many of you knew about it, but when all those classes were canceled abruptly, about 50 classes. So we quickly put together a student-focused town hall. I came and talked to about 25 students about what we could do, and it was very, very helpful. So maybe something like that would be a way to do it. Just have a conversation like this, but instead of it being the PAC advisors, it actually being an open meeting for any students who have ideas about what we can do as a campus to improve their experience.
Yeah, yeah, I like that. It's I'm thinking if maybe there are, because I know that, so to bring, sorry, my brain's going forward 1,000 different ways trying to think of things. So I know that one of the more popular events for the first gen fellows is the breakfast for finals kind of thing, because I assume people like food. So I wonder if there's some sort of kind of event or something of that nature that we could maybe create to foster that kind of response for students who maybe typically aren't getting involved. So like, hey, come and join us for some sort of potluck thing or whatever. And, you know, come and chat with us about things that you want to see at the university or whatever. Because I think that I didn't think about the town halls. I couldn't. I don't know why I didn't think of that. That was, yeah.
Well, you know, I think you're getting at something real important, because another thing I was thinking of is we have a wonderful equity and inclusion center that Jimmy and James McShay operate. But usually we have those discussions when there's a crisis, like if there's a crisis with DACA students or some of the racial crisis that have hit our campus. And again, what you get when you hold that forum are people that are interested in that particular issue, and it's really productive, and you can learn what the campus might be able to do for that, against that issue. But a lot of the students who have several jobs or doing other things can't come to that, and their needs continue to be unmet. And this is an issue with a commuter type campus we have. A lot of our students don't have the opportunity to go to all those things. So something where we could advertise and put something out there that's also, you know, like good for the student, like food or some other carrot that they could come, and our only request is tell us what we can do to help you. And if maybe we had a series of 2 or 3 so that people could work their schedules around those events too. The issue I have, Jake, is I don't know how open we're going to be. We still can't have meetings of more than 10 people right now. And if we do have 10 people, they all have to have masks on and they have to be 6 feet apart. So it's going to be difficult for us to do anything traditional for some time now. And it's not getting a whole lot better.
Yeah, I kind of was thinking about that.
But time's going to keep going.
Yeah.
Time's going to go, and we're going to get on top of this virus. So we better be prepared when we do. So, did you have a question, Monica?
I did, but if anyone else has a question for the Chancellor, and I can ask mine last.
Go ahead. Your question?
Yeah, so I'm curious, Chancellor Pagano, as we're all kind of following the rules of the stay-at-home order, what are things you have been doing at home to keep yourself occupied?
Well, you know, I love going to work. I love going to my office, but this has been a great opportunity. Always before in my life, before I became a chancellor, I had a garden and I had flowers everywhere. But when I moved here, I've been so busy. I plant flowers and I build a bird feeder. I'm looking at it right now and I fill that up all the time, but then I run off to work and I never get to see the birds. So I've really enjoyed sitting here day in and day out on Zoom for 8 or 9 hours a day, looking at my bird feeder. And as soon as it gets empty, I can run out to the garage, get stuff and fill it back up. I planted way more flowers than I ever have, and they're all in full bloom now, but that's keeping me pretty busy, keeping them watered because of how dry it is. And I jog. So I've got several new jogging paths through my neighborhood here because I don't drive very much to go jog. And I walk with my wife. So I've just enjoyed kind of connecting with my home more.
I love that. Thank you for sharing.
I did make a trip to Montana in June, the day after commencement. So I actually went to Seattle. I was part of the in-place commencement. And the next morning I drove to Montana to help my son build a play set in his backyard for my first grandkid. I have a grandkid that's 5. His name is Ari. And they have a little new house. And we built this beautiful play set with a swing, a fireman's pole, a tire swing, a clubhouse, a sliding board, a rock climbing thing. I mean, we worked 12 hours a day on that thing for 4 days, and then I had to come back. That was fun.
Yeah, that sounds awesome. Thank you for answering my question.
We've almost used our hour. Almost.
Yeah. So I'm going to pass it back to Amari if anyone else has any other questions.
No other questions, comments, maybe highlights you want to talk about from today? Anything you thought the Chancellor said that was super cool?
So I actually did want to really quickly thank you for kind of giving your thoughts on what I was thinking about. I appreciate that.
I think it's a good idea. And then I wish I could have gotten my slide up real quickly of the campus. And I will have that ready next time and be able to walk you through where these things are, because I'm a visual person. I assume some of you are visual too. And as we talk about, you know, the Craigle parking lot and next to Pinkerton and all that, you may not have it as clear in your mind as you would if I had the diagram there. So I'll be ready next time.
Yeah, so in regards to next time, we definitely would love to have you back whenever you know, the time permits. We all, like I said earlier, we all definitely appreciate you coming today and kind of sharing your experience. I know I always tell the group during my time at BSU, I got a chance to become really acquainted with you. So yeah, I definitely want to thank you again for coming and sharing today.
Thank you, Amari. Anytime you're free to send me an email, any of you, if you want to ask me more questions about what we talked about. I'm just here feeding my birds.
Most definitely.
Okay, I'm going to sign off and go to my next Zoom. So nice meeting all of you.
Yes, definitely. And thank you again for coming today. Enjoy the rest of your day, Chancellor Pagano.
Okay. See you later. Bye-bye.
Awesome. Thank you, Mari, for hosting that.
Most definitely.
Lynn, thank you so much for joining us today and getting to hear and meet the Chancellor. We appreciate your time.